What's up, music fans of the internet? I'm Kevin.
I'm Derek.
And together we are last week's album, the only reviews with two different views. And in this episode, we're exploring the question, will Fantastic Negrito give you the blues on his new album, The Last Days of Oakland? Let's get into it. Cheers, Derek, and everyone at home.
Cheers, Kevin, everyone at home.
Fantastic Negrito is a Bay Area singer-songwriter. He won NPR's Tiny Desk contest in 2015. Before that, he had spent years in physical therapy after a bad car accident in 2000 that left him in a coma and in very bad shape. But now he's back. Derek and I had the pleasure of catching him at last year's South by Southwest, actually, where he put on a really energetic live show. Let's talk about what this album sounds like. Derek, what do you think?
Kevin, I think Fantastic Negrito sounds like The Roots on a Magical Time Machine jam session with James Brown and Bad Brains.
Ooh. I think this sounds like Lead Belly, R.L. Burnside, and Jack White jamming out in an alley as the sun goes down.
I like the Jack White reference in there.
All right, let's talk about some highlights from the album. Derek, what did you think?
One thing was kind of lyrics. Fantastic Negrito was not afraid to address hot button issues on this one, and I thought he did so in an amazingly expressive way.
Yeah, he touches on police brutality, gentrification, a lot of tough issues, but he does it really well.
And this also tied in with the vocals. Here he's living up to his moniker, Fantastic. And he does a great job using voice inflections to create different characters or perspectives on working poor. There's a section where there's kind of this lower register, darker vocals, which immediately kind of introduced the listener to the fact that even from this character, Fantastic Negrito, there's different variations or layers.
I'm glad you mentioned his voice, Derek. I thought that was one of the highlights of the album. It's incredibly dynamic, and he really adapts it to different moods for each song. On About a Bird, he gets sort of sultry and sexy. On Lost in a Crowd, he's sort of angsty and moaning. And it gets really gospel and bluesy on Nothing Without You.
You mentioned About a Bird. I thought there was another interesting part in there where, again, kind of the vocals change their tone a little bit, but even the music, the instruments kind of drop out and there's hand claps. It's a lot of percussion. It added to the story right there as well. So I just thought it was very well done, kind of combining the range of the vocals and then that being mirrored through the instrumentation, reflecting that flexibility.
And in addition to his voice, I thought the musicianship on the album was one of the highlights as well. Not only can they mix a lot of genres from blues to soul to roots to gospel, but the instruments all hold their own, from piano to electric guitar, to slide guitar, bass and drums all keep up with Fantastic and his fantasticness.
Yeah, totally agree. One thing I really liked was how he would take some of the quote-unquote older elements, especially kind of some of the Delta blues stuff, and I thought he really presented them in and along with more current elements and sounds.
The interludes actually gave it some modernity as well. It kind of reminded me of a lot of hip-hop albums in the way they'll do these little interludes between songs or skits. Here they were very real and kind of intense, but helped add to the theme of the album.
At the same time, I think because it speaks to significant issues, there's also some timelessness about it as well.
All right, how about lowlights? Did you have any, Derek?
Sometimes the contrast between light and dark was almost at breakneck speed. I thought Rant Rushmore illustrated that. But at the same time, I think that's kind of the edge Fantastic Negrito wants to create overall. So while it can be jarring, I think it's completely intentional.
I thought his lyrics could get a little too personal and sort of idiosyncratic at times. A lot of times they're about these larger issues, but sometimes they get really personal. He's very vocal about being himself and being true to who he is. So I'm sure that it's intentional, but I did find it a little, hard to relate to at times.
At the same time, I think also, any of the more personal idiosyncratic stuff, I think might be the beginning of a longer narrative too. So
Touché.
Put that in your back pocket, yeah?
All right, well, let's give it an overall rating and answer the big question. Will Fantastic Negrito give you the blues on the Last Days of Oakland? What do you think, Derek?
Kevin, I think The Last Days of Oakland will only give you the blues when it ends. I was really engaged by this album beginning to end. The variety of sounds was amazing from the number of different genres. It all felt very smooth. Nothing ever really seemed forced. I thought that was a great album, so I'm giving it a 4 out of 5.
Right on. I will agree for the most part. I think, will this album give you the blues? I would say yes and no. I think it's got a very contagious sound, but it won't leave you feeling down. There's always sort of a light at the end of the tunnel with Fantastic Negrito. He blends sounds really, really well. I thought he carried the concept of the album through from start to finish in a really nice way. It's sort of this cautionary tale of how to survive the ills of money and power. Surprisingly, it feels like a good album for a party, as weird as that is to think about a blues album. I am going to agree with Derek and give it a 4 out of 5 as well. So that makes a combined 8 out of 10 for Fantastic Negrito's The Last Days of Oakland. So definitely check out this album and let us know what you guys think about it. Don't forget to subscribe to us here on the YouTube channel or the podcast. As always, I'm Kevin.
I'm Derek.
Cheers, guys. We'll see you next time.